Illuminati created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller, not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
God's had to build my own family. I hate your son. I hate your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
The Illuminati created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller, not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
God's had to build my own family. I hate your son. I hate your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
What is up, everybody? This is Silverspook, and this is the Silverspook live stream. So today we're going to be having a very special guest very shortly. As I mentioned in the social media, we will be having one of my longtime native Hawaiian friends, from the island of Oahu, which is a particular very different from the island that we're currently on. But so we'll be having a guest speech and discussion. But before I forget, don't forget everything that we do here is supported by the sales of Neofeud, that game that you just watched the trailer of. We are here on the Big Island of Hawaii at the Silver Spook worker-owned cooperative / commune, or also known as a hui. That's the Hawaiian word for it. Where there are no bosses, there are no landlords, and what we do is democratically decided what to produce, where to produce, how to produce it, what to do with the profits. So all sales of the game do go to support all of that work we're doing, including the educational work on the streams, including making Neofeud 2, Terminus Cyberstar, which I'm part of, another anti-capitalist cyberpunk games, and also just like, the most revolutionary thing that we can do is raise future Kanaka Maoli, or Native Hawaiians. And we're going to be talking about today, I think I talk about often on these streams. Hey, Progressive Proletarian, how's it going? I'm just gonna look at the chat real fast here. So we're gonna be talking today about the topics that I often cover, but we're gonna have another perspective on this. So it's not just me. It's kind of a confirmation. So A Tale of Two Hawaiis: U.S. Empire colonized capitalist hellhole Oahu versus Aloha Pono. These are Hawaiian words that are difficult to translate into English. They aren't just slogans on the side of 767s that fly you from California or New York or Tokyo to Hawaii for your vacation. They mean something. But we're going to talk about that. I try to talk about that more. So we're going to talk about what does socialism with Hawaiian characteristics, which is on the Big Island, look like versus a colonial capitalist hellscape cyberpunk dystopia, which is Oahu, Hawaii. What does that look like? And that, like, Neofeud, the game, right, that you watched the trailer for, is based on my life and many people's lives in the capitalist U.S. empire controlled Oahu. It is like even more American than a lot of other American cities in a lot of sick ways. And we're going to be talking about, and this is like kind of a visualization that I created of one version of Hawaii 2077. This is the Kanaka Maoli flag. It has a few different names, but it was one of the original sovereign independent country of Hawaii's flag designs. And Hawaii is still, as I often bring up, an illegally occupied sovereign country, as admitted by the United States presidents, former President Grover Cleveland and former President Bill Clinton, in a written formal apology in 1992, and is even taught in the U.S. state law school. The U.S. state of Hawaii's law departments actually teach to their lawyers. When you pass the bar, you have to learn that the existence of the state of Hawaii is actually illegal. That's the thing that they teach you. I don't. It's kind of counterproductive for an empire, that's continually having huge military and police assaults on Native Hawaiians, like on Mauna Kea, like the way they were shot 6 times more per capita than white people by police, mass arrested 4 times more likely to be homeless. It seems like a weird thing to teach, but that's how egregiously in violation the United States is of law, international law, basic ethics, right? Is that the state of Hawaii actually teaches that the United States state of Hawaii is non-existent. It's right. It's like what is that like? It's like I don't know. That's like that would like the United States, Harvard law teaching that the United States is an illegal country and doesn't exist. It'd be like teaching that. It would be like the Canadian government teaching that Canada is so-called Canada and it has no basis for existence and should be immediately dissolved, right? In like University of British Columbia and the University of Toronto, teaching that all of Canada shouldn't exist. But that's how bogus everything is. But anyway, so there's gross and borderline just like incomprehensibly bogus contradictions are just the nature of a capitalist system, which is about disinformation and ongoing disinformation. And so we're going to be talking about that very shortly. I'm going to have my friend on because I bring up a lot of these topics about the quality of the water, the quality of the the water quality that we undergo, right? Like being homeless as a social worker and a STEM teacher, working full-time, yet living in a van with my wife and children, eating spoonfuls of peanut butter for dinner, being forced to kind of feed them ramen with peas and carrots, or we get the healthiest food that we can manage. We try to get broccoli, but I mean sometimes we couldn't afford anything except for just whatever we could apprehend in our food desert of downtown Honolulu when we didn't even have a vehicle, and I was walking to work while working full-time. I'll be clear, working full-time in a public school, teaching children, right? But this is, I'm going to have somebody else's story from Hawaii to corroborate what I often bring up. Paying $2,000 a month for a one-bedroom next to a meth lab above a highway, and I'm not being metaphorical, I mean literally a meth lab. Like, Kama is somebody who helped us move into, I can tell you exactly where it is if you want to know. It's like, if you know where Camp Shopping Center is, if you know where Kalihi Valley is in Honolulu, Hawaii, there's little apartments right behind the Camp Shopping Center, next to Kamehameha School. That right there. There's a meth lab, people cooking meth. You can smell the smell of like acidic chemicals and burning plastic making your eyes water coming in through our window. Our towels smell like it. Right next to the rusted hole in the tub that the landlord didn't see fit to fix forever, and that was 10 years ago. So my friend Kama has recently moved, let me go. Hey Kama, you wanna give me 1 second. Hey Kama, you can come over. So Kama has recently moved over to the Big Island of Hawaii from Oahu, and I'm gonna have him on here shortly to kind of give his side of the story and just kind of talk about his experiences. And I kind of wanted to get his take, having just moved from Oahu. As I kind of said, this kind of United States colonial, neo-feudal capitalist hell city to the Big Island, where it's not fully decolonized, but it is like much more run and controlled by Hawaiians with socialism with Hawaiian characteristics, or what I call, it's like aloha, kuleana, pono. These are just native Hawaiian indigenous values, and it's run that way. So he's going to be talking about the medical experience, dealing with COVID testing, the housing, the infrastructure, water, all the things. We're like thinking about what's happening in Texas, Mississippi, where people have gone a month with no water. That experience, that a very American experience, is an experience on Oahu as well. So anyways, you want to come? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Aloha kakahi aka, kako aupau. O kamalani ko'u inoa, a he positive synergy ke kahi. He kanaka maole vau. He hano me ke kuleana e ka'ana like ana me oi. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kamalani, also known as Positive Synergy. I am native Hawaiian, and it is my honor and privilege to share with you folks. As Silver Spook was saying, my life experiences between the city island of Oahu and real true Hawaii here on the Big Island is there's vast disparities between the two. Just like to briefly touch on the things that I've noticed so far. I've grown up on Oahu my whole life, for 30 37 years of my life. I was raised to be Native Hawaiian, and living not being Hawaiian, it was very difficult. Trying to adjust that lifestyle to fit into, I guess, a Western culture. Like Silver Spook was saying, the things that I've noticed, one of the first things that I noticed was how people care about you over here. My first experience, I had to rent a truck to basically move all my things from the dock, to Camp Silver Spook. And the girl that was taking care of me, her name is Lei. Thank you very much, Lei. When I went to go pay my bill, she looked at me very weirdly. She said, "Oh wow, how come you have so many miles? How come you racked up so many miles?" And I told her, "Well, this and that and the other. I basically had to drive to and from." And so what she did was, she kind of fudged the numbers for me, and I kind of started tearing and crying because she was like the first true Hawaiian experience that I got while I was here. She exemplified what it was to be aloha. And so she basically she made it where so long story short, I rented this truck for 2 days, right? And she said, if you don't need it on the second day, just bring it back. And so ultimately what ended up happening was they ended up owing me money. And let me just retract a little bit. My budget was this big, and I had run out of money. Literally, I had run out of money. And while I was driving this truck back, I was just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna pay for this because I don't have any money. I had already spent it all. And so, Akua, God, he just told me, don't worry about it, son. I'm gonna take care of you. And that's when this whole experience happened. Lei took care of me. They ended up giving me back money. So I was up. When I left the place, it basically changed my life. It changed my perspective on how people should be. And that was just one experience. What else can I talk about? Before I came to Hawaii Island, as protocol, you need to have proof of negative COVID results before you enter. And so I was scrambling, you only have a 3-day window to get this stuff done, right? And so my flight was on a Saturday, and here I am on a Wednesday, and the protocol for this thing is kind of overwhelming. The website that they have you use always breaks. It doesn't work, so I'm all stressing out, pulling out my hair, like, what the F is going on? But so I started inquiring with a few places. The first place I called, they quoted me for a COVID test $225. $220. I was like, holy, I can't afford $225. The next place was $200, followed by $180, And the last place that I called, which is supposed to be like the low income place, they were asking $130. So obviously I went with the cheapest place, right? $130. Another thing about that, they kind of gave me the runaround. At first they weren't gonna accept my my state provided medical, and I was upset because when I spoke to the person on the phone and I explained that I had a state funded medical, they said that it was acceptable. And so I get to this place and I show them my card, and then there was this big, they basically they made it difficult for me to get the COVID test. Anyways, after jumping through like 3 or 4 hoops for these people, I was finally able to get the $130 test, basically. When, let me just back up a little bit. I'm really like I'm really neurotic about this whole COVID thing. Safety is my biggest thing. Safety first, first and foremost. And so when I came to Big Island, I felt very uncomfortable. I felt dirty coming off of the plane. And so Silver Spook, he came to pick me up. Thank you very much, by the way. He came to pick me up, and I felt really pilau. I felt dirty. And so I asked him, hey man, can you take me to a bathroom someplace so that I can scrub myself? Anyways, long story short, I'm very neurotic about this COVID thing. And so when I came to Camp Silver Spook, I needed to quarantine myself because that brief time that I was on the airplane, there's potential exposure to COVID. So I take it very seriously. And so I quarantined myself, and with the help of Harley and Silver Spook, they basically told me that there's free COVID testing on this island. And I was like, wait, what? How? Wait, what? There's free COVID? I just came from the city island where there should be, their budget for funding should be this much, and the smaller island, should be that much. So what the F? Yeah, so I go to this pharmacy right down the road, not even 5 minutes away from our house, and I take this free COVID test. And as I'm right before I leave, I'm talking to the girl, right? Because I just want to make sure that everything is good before I leave. And so I'm telling her, I had this experience on Oahu. They're giving me the runaround with my state funded medical, and she basically told me, yeah, no, this is all free. You don't have to worry about a thing. Like, there's not gonna be some hidden bill, somewhere. Because that's what I was, I'm so programmed to think that way, right? That there's gonna be some kind of hidden charge or hidden bill. And so I needed reassurance from her to really put my mind at ease. And man, when I tell you the Aloha spirit is alive on this island, the Aloha spirit is alive. The girl basically told me, don't worry about anything. This is all free. You will get your test results within the next 3 to 5 days. In fact, I got it within the next 48 hours. That's how top notch this place is. They want you to get COVID tests over here, believe it or not, and it's all free. It's all free. It was blowing my mind. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And I guess the last thing that I just want to briefly touch on before I kind of hand it over back to Silver Spook is my living conditions on Oahu. So on Oahu, it's like a prison. Living on Oahu, it felt like I was living in a prison cell. All the places that I lived in, I basically had to. I couldn't own my own place because my budget didn't allow it. I could only maintain an entry-level position job because that's how it is over there. So making the nickels and dimes in order to pay the gigantic and immense rate for rent, it just, was out of my budget. And so for the last, I want to say 10 to 15 years, I've basically been renting rooms from friends and family. The last place that I lived in, Palolo Valley, which is a small town right outside of the city. It was my prison cell for the last couple years. I paid my expenses were $700 a month. That's basically almost half of what I made working a full-time job. And there were holes in the wall. Where I sat in my seat, looking at my entertainment system, you could literally see the light poking through the wall. That's how bad the living conditions were. Also, the drinking water. That's what I really want to talk about. When I moved there, I didn't think anything of it until I really started listening to, Silver Spook and him talking about, chromium 6 being in the water of Kalihi Valley. And here I am in Palolo. When I turned on my water, it smelled like burning plastic. Literally, it smelled like burning plastic. The residue that it left like a reddish orange color, just like this. Yeah. It was non-potable water, is what I'm trying to say. It was poison water. So thinking to myself, okay, well, I have a very limited budget. A gallon of Menehune water cost about $4 a gallon at the local store. And so if you do the math, that's $125 a month just for water, drinking water. And that was outside of my budget. So I basically, I was malnourished at the time because I had to buy this $4 gallon water, right? In order to live, you need water to live. And so I would ration my water. I would basically I would consume half of what I needed to consume to be healthy. So I was very unhealthy and undernourished. It got so bad to the point where the place that I was working at, they had a filtered water system at work. So I would take my empty Menehune water bottles, right? These jugs of gallons, and I would basically fill those up with that water in order to live, in order to be more healthy. The people at my job thought I was crazy because they didn't understand my living conditions. When I told them that, they told me to, talk to the property management. I had told the landlord numerous times. He told the property management about, my living conditions, the holes in the wall, the toxic water, or the poison water. I told him for over a year. I want to say about a good 14 to 15 months. I told him every month after month, and nothing was done. Like, nothing was fucking done, And here I am slaving away at this fucking entry-level job, breaking myself basically to live unhealthily. I had bought a Brita water filter, thinking that this thing it was a charcoal water filter. And I thought to myself, okay, this might be, you know, a solution to my problem. And so I remember filling it up one day with this water, and man, just thinking, yes, I figured it out. All right, this is gonna work. So I pour out this filtered water, I take a sip, and I spit it out because it tasted like burning plastic, you know. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe if I filter it, you know, a few more times, like 4 to 5 times, maybe that might work, you know, maybe that might do the trick. Ultimately, I had to buy a bottled water. That's my experience on Oahu. I came to the Big Island, and Holly and Silver Spook, they're very kind, and they provided me water. And so my experience on Oahu, I'm thinking, okay, they're paying for this water in these, you know, in these jugs, so I have to give them some kind of, you know, monetary value, right? I gotta pay them back somehow, right? So I approached them and I asked them, hey, you know, how much do I owe you for the water? And that's when they told me, oh, it's all free. And so this was just mind-blowing to me. I was just all like, wait, what? This is free water. This is filtered water is not free, you know, where I came from. And so yeah, it was a real shock to me. Yeah, I'm gonna start crying, but yeah, it's yeah. I love it here. I love these people. I love this lifestyle. I can finally be me. Yeah, that's why I love this place so much. I get to be Kanaka Maole. I get to be Native Hawaiian. Yeah. Anyways, anything else? Anything else you feel like I should be sharing with the folks?
No, I'm sure I can think of something, but I mean, yeah, again, thanks so much, Kama, for taking the time and the courage to speak about. I know this is like not easy to talk about, so you know, it's hard. I mean, I don't know if you can hear what I'm saying, but can you hear what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, come on this side. Anyways, but yeah, like Kama has just recently come over from this island. Let's see. I don't know, get something. No, I don't have anything right now. But I mean, like, we're from the same island, right? And like, cause if you, most people don't really know that much about Hawaii. You just think of palm trees and, you know, 51st dates and Hawaii 5-0 or whatever. You think of vacation, tropical paradise. But you like part of the topic of the video is like there are very different parts of Hawaii depending on the island that you're on, because of parts that, you know, like the big, like the overarching narrative that I'm trying to like describe is that like there really are, you can really see the differences night and day between a Western capitalist, America style capitalist, specifically colonized place that is just really abusing the poor, the working class, the Native Hawaiians, people of color disproportionately, and you know, just for the few, and run by and for the few at the expense and exploitation and suffering, you know, like deep, like poisoning, to the point of going to the hospital, to the point of like just like feeling like you have no hope, and you know, you want to end things level of, you know, hopelessness if you don't die from a variety of other, like I talk about homelessness, I talk about mass incarceration. I was a social worker and STEM teacher, so I lived it and then was face to face with mass child poverty, mass either just full homelessness or constantly being at the verge of homelessness. And even if you aren't on the street tonight, you know, you're always at that, am I gonna get evicted? Is there gonna be a fight between me and my friends? And even if you're in a place, if you're 20 people, 5 families in a 3-bedroom house, which is normal on Oahu, squeezed together, you know, fighting with each other over this tiny little amount of space with the water coming out. You know, I say it a lot, but you know, that's why I want to kind of comment to have a new set of eyes. Like literally, it's poison. If you did a water test on it, this would be shown to be not potable. You're paying $300, $600, $700 a month. He was paying for just himself $125. But you're paying your water bills. You're across the United States right now. People are paying $1,000 a month in parts of Mississippi. In Philadelphia, people are routinely paying $300, $700 across the United States. This is the way that it governs itself, and then it asks you to pay through the nose for water that you can't drink, that causes your skin and your baby's skin to have rashes and blisters. That has already caused death and brain damage to countless children in Flint and thousands of communities across the United States. This is the way that it is. It is grinding up the people in Hawaii. That's in Honolulu, Hawaii. It's grinding up the Hawaiians and other people that are living in Hawaii. It's grinding up everyone across the country. And that is one way of organizing things, you know, and that goes with the prison system, that goes with everything, the military industrial complex. All of these aspects work together under a Western capitalist imperial structure. And then there's another way to do things, you know, and so that's what I really want to draw the sharp distinctions, you know, with Kama's story as another set of eyes on a thing that I often talk about. Whereas on the Big Island, not only is the water potable, it's also free, you know. Not only the housing, what we're doing here, I said there's no landlords. Kama, like just recently as an example, like we have more housing than we require, that we can. Why do we have this housing? We have this housing where we on Oahu. We were paying $15. It was $900. Now it's like $1,200 to $1,500 for the area that we were in. You could easily pay $2,000 for what we were paying $900. Now it's $1,200. The same place. I looked at it. If you've ever been to Hawaii, it's right behind Camp Shopping Center. It's $1,200. There's a highway, Likelike Highway, and we had people on methamphetamine, which is not, you know, that's a problem that is part of the bigger violence of poverty. People turn to negative, self-destructive, and community-destructive behaviors like selling drugs to continue to exist, right? Because all the things that Kama was talking about, and so these kind of, and so you know. The mortgage on this house, to be really specific, it would have been, we looked at it, if we had got a mortgage on this house, we didn't. We ended up like pooling resources and we have it now outright. But if the mortgage would have been like $470 a month, compare that to, for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a studio, compare that to $1,200 for a tiny 1-bedroom falling apart with chromium-6, with unknown lead, copper, and other EPA unregulated chemicals in the water for now $2,000 a month. It's like, it's night and day, right? And you have no option on Oahu. You will pay that, or you will be on the street. People with guns, police officers will come to your house, knock on your door, throw everything that you own, your social security card, your wallet, your TV, your clothes, your computer. They will, if you're lucky, they don't just, you know, something.
They throw it in a dumpster. Yeah,
they throw it in a dumpster.
Literally.
And that violence is, and that's the police do play an important part on today, the day of the 1-year anniversary of Breonna Taylor's murder, which is the racialized, the anti-black, anti-people of color, and anti-working class and poor violence is part and parcel of that entire system. And that's what the police do on Oahu. They enforce, they enforce the interests of the landlords, of the rich, who own all of the property, and they disproportionately enforce violence against the non-white peoples in a racialized capitalist hell that is the United States. On the Big Island of Hawaii, like I often bring up, there have been 0 evictions from the Big Island, Hawaii County Police Department. I know that's like a mind-blowing statistic, but no, that I don't know anywhere that's had that, like anywhere in the United States, certainly.
That's one other thing I want to bring up.
Yeah, go ahead.
The homeless problem on Oahu. Everywhere you go, you step outside of your house on Oahu, you see a homeless person. I haven't seen a single homeless person on the Big Island. I haven't seen a single one. I've been looking for them too. Like literally, I've been looking for them. And yeah, that, you know, just to reiterate what Silver Spook just said, the problems on the city island are not the problems here on the Big Island. Every place has problems, you know, but Big Island, Oahu, Big Island and Oahu, the disparities between the two are like night and day. And I've only been here, you know, for a few weeks, and you know, I see the difference, you know, I feel the difference. I live differently, you know. Just the other day, I woke up a little late, and I woke up like, and my heart was racing because I was thinking, oh my God, I need to be doing something. I need to like break my back today, you know. I need to like get another hernia or something, right? And then I thought to myself, why the fuck am I stressing out for? I live on the Big Island now. I can live the way that I want to live.
That's like a really important thing too, which is that, you know, and I'll come back to that, but yeah, it's like the you know, I mean, it goes along with the you know, the fear, right? The constant fear that you live in. Now, if you live in America, if you live in even Canada, you live in Britain, you live in Australia, even New Zealand, right? You're constantly in fear of like, if I don't make enough money to pay this 1,000, 2,000, 2,500 rent, water, healthcare bills, especially in the United States, I'm going to, me, my family, my children, I will be on the street. I will become destitute, and that will be a downward spiral, because how will I take a shower to get a good job to pay? You know, it's like, if I lose this foothold, I will fall down a hill into like the tar pit of I will end up in hell, basically. You're just trying to stay just above the flames, you know, constantly, and it's always money, right? It's always money. Like, well, where am I gonna get the money? Where am I gonna get the money? And then you turn to drugs, because it's one way to get it if you don't have a lot of options. Selling it, stealing things. I mean, all kind of other activities that are not so good. And so that feeling, like, constantly, I need to hustle. I need to be doing something, is a feeling that I felt all the time. When I first came, it was the same thing. I was like, you know, because I would routinely like work for like a few hours in the morning on the game, on Neofeud 2, you know, and then I would like spend time with the kids. It was one thing I didn't do a lot. When I was working very hard, like, it was really bad, because I was so stressed out about work, about the amount of hours I was doing. I was walking to work, it's 3 miles, or biking to work when I had a bike. I was tired. I didn't want to spend time with my children, which I felt terrible about that. I didn't want to talk to Holly, my partner, you know. It was like, we would have been probably divorced. I might not be alive, or I might be in prison if I had stayed on that island, because of the constant need to do what you got to do to survive. And I understand that people do what they have to do to survive in the United States, in Canada, in all these other places. But here you don't have to do that, because and I mean, coming back to the police, you know, the police do not enforce landlord's will. Like, if somebody is not paying $3, we stayed for free for 2.5 years in a 3-bedroom house here on the Big Island. And we did get evicted. I like last year, a year and a half ago, we did technically get evicted. I didn't realize this by the time, but like, the eviction, like, when you get evicted, right, as millions of people are experiencing right now, tens of millions are in danger of being evicted right now in the United States, as they are tens of thousands of dollars in behind rent, right? And that fear that you're in, right, that people with guns are gonna show up, they're gonna kick you out, and you are going to be destitute. You're gonna lose everything. You're gonna lose your wife. You're gonna lose your partner. You're gonna lose your family. that fear, that is what keeps, that is the whip at the back of the new serf, the new slave, which is you, the working class, right? That fear that you will or not have that health care and then you'll be dead. Or you'll in that fear that you will just lose your access to even just your money to buy bottled water, and then you'll be poisoned and malnourished, and you'll be getting cancers which you can't afford to get, because then you'll lose whatever you have, right? So this knock-on fear is the whip always at your back. You are still a slave. You are still a serf or a slave or a peasant of whatever type, but the violence is just encrypted. It's camouflaged, and the violence is just all around you. You know, the boss, like each time somebody gets fired and you watch them walk out, and they have security, and they're breaking down, crying, calling their wife in a fit. Oh my God, how are we gonna pay for our daughter's spina bifida? Grandma's, where are we gonna live? That is the threat. That is the violence. And just the thought of you could be next. You will lose your job. You will be on the street. All the homeless people on that street is the whip, you know, at your back every second of your life till you die in America. So like, and that's the ultimate violence that leads to all these other forms. And then they say, oh, black on black crime. People, somebody pull out a gun. The black kid in the hoodie, 6'2" black person, poor Hawaiians here, poor person stealing things. No, the real violence is your landlord, your boss, your capitalist, the military, and ultimately the Pentagon, ultimately Wall Street. Those are the biggest aggressors. But anyway, and so the police, but they need the police. They do need the enforcers ultimately to physically remove you from that place, to kill you if you are as another threat of violence. The George Floyd kneeling on your neck for 8 minutes 46 seconds and getting away with it, right? And being terrorized, like, this is what will happen to you. This is what the police can do to you. That is always the threat. This is why I don't see justice for Breonna or George or any of the thousands, if not millions, of other people who have definitely have suffered violence and or murder with no recourse, on top of sexual violence from the police. And that does not, that is, so when I say Hawaii, the Big Island has Aloha, has Kuleana, has Pono, or in Western terms, I call it partially automated indigenous anarcho-socialism, or just socialism with Hawaiian characteristics. Like Vietnam has socialism with Vietnamese characteristics, or China, etc. The government and the power structure does not govern. They do not enforce the will of the boss and of capital. They will not kick people out of places. Now, if somebody is causing an extreme ruckus, let's say like there was recently somebody came from the mainland, from California. They started a weird sex cult they were abusing. There were reports of them like bringing in young people and abusing them, living in a place, right? Now the cops did come and say you cannot be here, and also they're violating COVID restrictions. So, and then the police did say, no, you cannot live here, you cannot be here, you're violating this, and this, and that's unacceptable, right? If somebody, and there are multiple, let's say there's multiple enforcement structures. There's the official police, but then there's another unofficial Hawaiian enforcement division. Let's put it that way. And if somebody is just living in a house, there's a family of 4, there's an empty house that Goldman Sachs, through a shell company and another banking, or the Bank of Oregon, or some rich white person from California, or Elon Musk owns 200 houses. Mark Zuckerberg owns 700 acres of Kauai, right? And he kicks Hawaiians off of our ancestral fishing, hunting, and medicinal gathering grounds, because that's what you do as a rich white colonizer like Mark Zuckerberg. But if one of those people call the police here and they say, okay, I need you to remove all of this tenant is not paying rent. Like if we didn't pay rent, and if it's an exorbitant rent, like $2,000, $3,000, they're not paying what their rent, or there's squatters in my place. If it's just a family, right, or just a person living, they're not causing trouble, they're just living in a house that went into foreclosure during a ridiculous pyramid Ponzi scheme fiasco to escalate wealth upwards, called the entire 2008-2009 crisis and everything that ran up to that. If somebody's just living in a foreclosed house, the police will not evict. and the other enforcement agencies will not evict. And that's how we live for 2.5 years for free in a 3-bedroom house with access to clean water. Not in a new house, not in a brand new house. There was water damage. There's like a little bit of, it's an old house, went into foreclosure. But it was a place you could live in. It was a roof, it had shelter, it had functioning doors and windows, and you could, it had a plumbing system. It's much better than anything I've lived with on Oahu. And the violence is the ultimate physical violence that is at the heart of the workplace capitalism of the landlord, the property owners, the property owners' interests, the police that have to enforce that. They don't have access to that. So a lot of rich people and disproportionately white people who show up on the Big Island, they will call it's so corrupt. There's so many troublemakers. Their business practices are so inefficient. They don't develop enough here on the Big Island, right? But it's kind of like what they say of places like Vietnam. It's so authoritarian. What they mean is what some people call it the dictatorship of the proletariat, but the will of the people is what is actually done by the government and the governing forces, right? They actually enforce the will of the Kanaka Maoli, of the Hawaiians, which is like, we don't want people to be removed from physical housing. This is the whole thing everybody's talking about. How are we going to deal with this system that has hundreds of thousands, just endless empty houses, and then it has hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of homeless people, and definitely tens of millions, like desperately underhoused people. Why do we have all these empty houses and all these people that are on the street? How do we fix that? You cannot fix that in the United States, because the United States is a capitalist system whose entire structure, from the workplace to your landlord system, the police, the military, the legal system, the court system, top to bottom, is there to maintain the maximum benefit for the richest at the expense of the poor. That is what your cops do, and for the whitest as well, and that's George Floyd, that's Breonna Taylor. And there can never be, you can never live sanely. You can never live in a socialist existence. You can never live without that constant fear, without that constant, tug at the back of your mind. You can never live in decency, in a way that's ethically and spiritually. Everyone is broken in the United States. Even if you are a winner in the system, you have to know that you have caused the suffering of tens or hundreds or thousands of other people around you. I know this because I went to school with people who are real estate agents on Oahu. They have, like Kamanos, who I'm talking about, have a nice penthouse apartment on the top story with a great view of Waikiki and the pristine Hawaiian ocean and the white sand beach, and they go to fancy expensive restaurants every night because they have the money. But when I brought up, I'm teaching science, technology, engineering, and math to disproportionately underhoused, at-risk Native Hawaiians, Filipinos, people of color, poor people, and it's good work, but I'm not being paid very much. And they know that their job, auctioning off pieces of this exorbitantly expensive housing enforced by all the systems I just said and the police ultimately, and they know that their nice places and their fancy restaurants and their fancy vacations and their fancy Teslas, cars that they drive, come at the expense of all these homeless people. And so they are, as nice of the material things that they have, there's still a void, there is still a sickness, there is still a spiritual death in them, in everyone. There cannot not be one. The only thing you can really do in there is to be on the front lines of the fights with Black Lives Matter, with your actions against your landlords and your bosses and the entire structure. That's the closest that you can get in the United States. But you will live there, unfortunately, like all of our friends. And Holly's dropping links to Lilith and Della's, who are indigenous and trans comrades that are trying to raise money for their housing insecurity and or very soon to be homeless situation. So again, this all ties together, right? I'm saying this is how the American capitalist Oahu part of Hawaii is. But that's really, in Neofeud, that's what that whole game is about. But this is a microcosm for the rest of the United States and for the rest of the Western capitalist world ultimately. And so that's how we, and so back to the police. So that's how we are here. We would not be able to do this. We would not have there would not be a Silver Spook Games. There would be no Silver Spook Stream. There probably wouldn't be a Neofeud or a Neofeud 2, and probably not a Terminus Cyberstar without the Big Island of Hawaii. We have the fertile like soil of actually existing, not perfect, but socialism, I would say, Hawaiian socialism, that is about people, not about profit overall, so that we can grow what the Silver Spook, a cooperative here. Now, I'm not telling, if you are working wherever you are in the U.S., you have to build whatever small pocket, a little life raft of functioning society, whether that's in your group of 10 friends, your whatever, your local intentional community commune, or your mutual aid organization. You have to build whatever you can in the place where you're in. I'm just saying that the Big Island is a place that has a lot more of it. Places like Vietnam, places like Cuba, these other places are entire oceans of healing rather than oceans of pain and suffering and oceans of exploitation, which is what the United States is. And so they have the pool, they have the community, they have the background to build things on. They have the fertile soil to build things on, as opposed to building it in a desert. It's very difficult. That's part of how we have what we have here. That's why, and we don't rent. So we don't. I mean, I'm not saying that people don't have to. Whatever you have to do where you're at, you got to rent where you're at. But I mean, we are in a position where we can provide from our ability to those in need. And like as I bring up, like I don't have certain skills. Like I have some skills. Most of my skills are in computer programming and computer and video game development and such. I have some other skills, but Kama has like other skills, like help repair parts of the plumbing and the structure of the house. We were just like, we had a tent kind of fly away, and helped us like secure basically the makeshift garage that we have, and all these other things, or vehicles. And so people do what they can. And again, and back to kind of what Kama was saying, we not having to constantly slave and hustle and overwork, right? For all of the disabled comrades, I mean, like, you at a certain point, some people's bodies cannot work 8-hour days. They cannot work extreme physical labor. But that is not, but a capitalist U.S. style system, Oahu, that city island system, does not care. Your body exists solely to provide physical labor. You are a bricklaying hand. That's all you are. Your brain is not yours. Your brain is there to do emails, spreadsheets, reports, and deal with terrible people on the phone doing tech support for HP. That's all your brain is there for. Your fingers, your feet are there to push the gas, to drive a Amazon truck or a Uber. That's all you exist for. And when your body breaks, you are in the dumpster now. And your body will break as fast as we can break it, because we're going to work you 8, 10, 12 hours. We're going to work you at 130% till we use you up. And we can.
That's my experience.
Yeah, so you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had many jobs in my life. I call them jobs because that's what they are. They're dead-end jobs. Always an entry-level position. And yeah, that's been my experience. Basically being overworked to the point where I'm exhausted, where I can't show up, the next day because I was overworked. The most recent experience that I had, I killed myself for this place. I'm not gonna say their name, but I basically slaved away for this place, and my motto in life was just to go for broke. And I literally broke myself. I ended up getting a hernia. I had to get surgery for it, and I was out for many months recovering. In fact, I'm still kind of recovering, But yeah, I broke myself for this place. Yeah, I had to get surgery because I broke myself. But so I go back to work, and the vibe is different now. The people look at me differently. They treat me differently now. Yeah, because I wasn't the same, right? Physically, I wasn't the same. I couldn't do the same labor anymore, right? Because I had gotten surgery for fucking hurting myself on the job. And basically, I felt like I was unwanted at that point. Like they meaning the owners of the company and the management were basically waiting for their chance to get rid of me, right? And the universe works its way out in very mysterious ways. As I'm driving to work early in the morning one day, I get pulled over by a cop, and my job, or my position at my job was a driver, right? And so I get pulled over by this cop, and I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, I just lost my job. And so I go to work, and I basically tell my boss that I got pulled over, right, for speeding. And not even 2 hours later, they're basically cashing me out and getting rid of me. Yeah, they cashed me out. They said, thank you very much for breaking yourself for us, but you are a liability to us now, and so you can no longer work for us. And so I took that as a big fuck you. Yeah, and I was really hurt by it, you know. I was really upset, but I knew that my time, that chapter of my life was done. I knew that it was over, and then I had to, you know, I had to make moves, right? Because I didn't want to be homeless, yeah. So thankfully, you know, Silver Spook reached out to me, and now I get to live my life the way that I want to live my life. Living on Oahu, I felt like I was in prison all the time. I felt like I couldn't be my true self. I felt like I had to put up a front. I felt like I had to act a certain way to appease the slave drivers and the masters, so that the cops didn't kick in my door and tell me, hey, beat it, you're fucking out on the street. Yeah, and that's been my life experience. Basically bouncing from job to job, trying to sell myself to make ends meet. That's been my life experience. Coming over here to Hawaii Island, the Big Island, it truly is Hawaiian lifestyle. It really is aloha aina. Everything that Silver Spook talks about being pono, you know, kuleana, you know, and you know, coming here and experiencing this, it gave me hope. It rejuvenated me. It basically it changed my life profoundly. And yeah, I thank God every single day. I wake up every day, I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord. And I'm just I'm glad that you know, that I was given this opportunity. And yeah, mahalo. Yeah, man.
Hey, man.
That's a good one, man. Thank you. Thanks, brother. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man.
I don't mean to be emotional, but it is what it is. I'm getting emotional because I gave up, you know. oh shit. I was being chewed up, spit out, over and over. Oh shit. And I gave up faith, and I gave up the hope, you know. And yeah, moving here changed my life, man. And wow. If you wanna really truly experience how to live life, come move to the Big Island. Not all of you now, yeah, just the right ones. Come move to the Big Island, and I promise you, you will experience life the way that you dreamt of. The way that you dream of, it's not a dream, it's reality, and it's over here. It's in places like the Big Island, it's in places like Cuba, it's in places like Vietnam, you know. Yeah, don't give up the hope, don't give up the faith, you know what I'm saying? Just keep pushing through, and you'll find your piece of paradise, I promise you. It all starts with the good praxis, and we really, you know, there needs to be some kind of revolution, you know, and it's only a matter of time. So, you know, if you're feeling hopeless and you feel like giving up, don't give up hope, you know, just keep pushing through, and I promise you, things will change. Things have to change. They're changing already, you know. We just gotta persevere and push through all that bullshit. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. Thanks for sharing all that, man. You know, no, I mean, like, what Kama's saying is definitely like, I wouldn't have believed any of this either. Like Neofeud, if you've played the game, it's not the most positive game. Like, it's not. I would say like, I was doubtful like that big. I had heard stories about the Big Island, like, but I didn't really believe in myself, you know. And so I would say there was a lot of points where I was like giving up while I was in the more, you know, the U.S. style parts of Hawaii when I was on Oahu in the city island. You know, it's not that different from New York, Manhattan. It was not that much different from L.A. or anywhere else, Seattle. But you know, like, now that I know that it's possible, like, and that's why, like, I talk about like the next projects that I'm working on. Like, I don't want it will have to deal with the realities, right, of that you are dealing with. I'm sure, you know, wherever you're at, you know, that because we're not in a system that has a full planet wide revolution yet. You know, we're not out of it. That we're not everywhere isn't like Big Island. So, but at the same time, we also have to like look at the parts of the world, you know, like in varying degrees that like are functioning the way that human beings, like, for more time, you know, I bring this up, you know, places like Vietnam, the indigenous peoples of the North and South America, places like China, these places have existed for thousands of years, you know, and much longer than the entire Western civilization has existed. And the colonial era is a blip. It's like less than, you know, America is like less than 1% of the entire existence of a place like Vietnam or China. It's less. All of the European, you know, even the British monarchy, a 1,200-year-old civilization, is nothing compared to these multi-thousand-year-old, you know, indigenous, ongoing places that exist in mutual aid. You know, that exist in what we call aloha, what a lot of those places call, you know, in harmony. They exist in balance. They exist in just indigenous, you know, values. And that's why I like to have a lot of these conferences and discussions between Asian, African, indigenous, you know, Turtle Island and other societies, because this is really the greater story. And if you add up every white person on the planet, there's still 8 times more people that are not. You know, there's 1.5 America, Europe, Canada, and New Zealand, Australia put together in China. Africa already outnumber all those people. And so, you know, while it seems like very hopeless and you're in a very small, you know, this is the way that it has to be and the way that it will always be. And we are only headed towards apocalypse or worse, you know, in the place like the US or Canada, in your homelessness or near homelessness situation, wherever you're in your, how am I gonna get my healthcare situation, in your abusive job with your abusive employer, trying to fight the healthcare system wherever you're at in that struggle. And I know you have to be there. If you're not in a place like where Luna and EJ are in Vietnam, or a place like where we are, you must be in that struggle. Somebody in your family is in that struggle. So, but wherever you are, just remember that, there is hope. Like Kama said, that we have to work together with different diversity of tactics depending on where you are at, like what you need to do inside of what's calling itself America right now in Los Angeles, where in Minneapolis, where George Floyd's murderer's trial is currently going through. That's a different struggle than places like what you're in Vietnam, where we're more resisting the invasion of empire. And Big Island is a lot closer to, I would say, Vietnam in a lot of ways than Oahu, because it's our job here is to resist encroachments of the empire, whereas you are in it if you're in the United States. So it's different, but we can work together. We should work together, internationally with the tools that we have with the internet, be able to communicate with anyone on the planet Earth, and everybody has to under the pandemic. Everybody is only a phone call or a Zoom chat away, every single person, the richest, the poorest, no matter where you are. And so, if you don't, like, we don't have room for every single person in the United States on the Big Island or even in Vietnam, but I mean, that is something like, realistically, think about it, look into it. Technically, it's still a state, of the United States. It's easier than moving to some other parts. I'm not the travel marketer for the Big Island. I'm not being paid by them or anything. I'm just so you have to do your own kind of research on this stuff. But it is like deeply materially different than anywhere in the U.S. Sometimes I for humor's sake and to make people think, sometimes I speak kind of like in poetic rhetoric and like hyperbolically sometimes, but I'm not that's kind of why I want to come on here, because I'm not joking about what I've been saying about how it is a place that is run by and for the people, putting people and their health and their needs, their health, housing, education, all their basic needs, their happiness ultimately above profit and greed and the desires of a few. That's the way that it is run. Not perfectly, not fully, right? But it's like the commanding heights or the overarching power structure is just more for the people. Now that is constantly being encroached upon, and that's why don't tell any of your capitalist relatives, okay? Don't tell your racist uncle who owns like 20 businesses, okay? Or the banker, cousin. Don't tell them that. Don't tell them the Elon Musk stand bro to come buy up a bunch of land. We don't need any more of that. They already try to come in, and the Hawaiians have to fight to really. That's part of why things are. I was talking about the police and the other police of the Native Hawaiians. That's why they have to do the things and they get attacked. Like, there is an ongoing investigation for 3 years. Why haven't there been any evictions? Because the state and the federal government are like, the United States is like, why aren't you kicking people out of houses? That's what you're supposed to do in America, because that's how we make more money, charging people $3,000 to live in a rotten sty with poison water. And so the Hawaiians are fighting that by going, it's kind of like like in America, they drag their feet. Oh, you have a complaint about water? Oh, we'll look into that for the next 6 years, 10 years, and never do anything. Oh, you need housing? Get on this 30-year long waiting list for Section 8. See, on the Big Island, they put the capitalists and the rich and the colonizer on hold. They go, oh, you want us to evict someone? Wait 20 years, maybe we'll look into it. Right, that's how you know that it's a different power structure, right? At the commanding heights, at the higher level, at the macro scale, right? Everywhere you have this, you're in the smaller side of an asymmetrical struggle in America. You are the smaller person trying to do good, right? As a leftist, as a socialist, as an anti-racist, right? You are in the minority. It's a racist country. It's a classist country. It's a country that wants to grind you up and take everything you have, your labor, your whatever, your property, your relationships, your health, and turn it into dollars and cents. So you are in a difficult struggle. But and so it's a materially different struggle here. But you know, I mean, look into that. And also, like, you know, if you know, and these, even if you don't, like, you come visit, even if you don't want to stay, you come visit. Don't visit Oahu. Like I said, don't stay in Waikiki. Don't stay in the Ritz-Carlton. Donald Trump doesn't need any more money. Don't stay in Turtle Bay, in the Sheraton. Mitt Romney and the Marriott billionaire American conglomerate, they don't need any more money. Don't stay in those hotels. You can, you know, come and visit. You know, stay. There's I know specifically the Reed Hotel here. If you're looking for a specific one, is run by it's a Hawaiian. It's basically a Hawaiian Hui run hotel, and Hawaiians go there and they stay there. Their family members and such. You know, don't go to Kona. Come to this side, the east side of the Big Island. You know, and then like talk to the Hawaiian community. Like, you know, see like what's happening. Obviously, it's a pandemic, so maybe I mean we have to be very careful because it's a pandemic. Maybe we wait till the pandemic kind of settles down a little bit more, because we don't want to spread the virus. But you know, there's a lot that can be learned. There's a lot of hope that can be had. There's a lot of, you know, just even like just seeing the possibility of what can happen can change your life. Like Kama just said, like you know, like I know that that's something that I know it sounds like I'm selling some weird miracle cure, like some snake oil, like will make your eyes white and shoot bright and childbirth bright. It's not, but it's not. It's I know it sounds kind of like a hokey hoax thing, but you know, that's it literally is just like that's why I'm trying to give a lot of I try to give a lot of specifics, because I'm not trying to sell anybody on, you know, some like a miracle cure. I'm not Jordan Peterson, you know, I'm not Joe Rogan. I'm not here to like tell you how to get a good job and a 3-bedroom house and a wife and kids and live. I'm not trying to make you great, make something great again. It's just like, this is something that has always been great, and we're just trying to like reveal that, you know, as honestly as possible. And yeah, I don't know. Trying to think of anything else really specific. Yeah, like yeah, I don't know. Can you think of anything else?
No, you know, just to go back to what you're saying, man. We're no snake charmers, you know. We're not trying to sell you on any bullshit, you know. These are facts, you know. Yeah. As much as you think that it is hyperbole, it really isn't, you know. Everything that Silver Spook talks about in his streams, on stream, you know, it's all based on fact. So, you know, when if the pandemic ever settles down, if you really want to learn to be yourself, come check this place out, you know. And I promise you, wherever you go in life after that, you will take a part of this place with you. I will guarantee that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, even when we first came here, we only came here for like a few days in like 4 years ago. Yeah, a little more, 5 years ago. And like, you know, just only being here for 5 days, it's just, I don't know, it's like impossible. It's like, how is this how can there not be homeless people? That's what it was. There's like 100,000 people, like actually more than that, in this one hilo. It's like any like Holly can tell, even in Canada, like there's the rundown area, and then there's the people that are struggling even in Canada. I mean, and I'm like, where are all the homeless people? You know, like Khan was saying, I was like looking, where's the area where everybody's like living down and out, and you know, we got to step over the dead bodies in the morning. You know, there's got to be everywhere. You know, that aside, you go to Waipahu, I mean, even in Oahu, you go to Honolulu, you go to Waipahu, you go to the smaller areas. There's some area that's really run down, but you don't have that. I mean, there are people that are like if you are homeless, like there are people that are like,
I want to say that's by choice. If you do see a homeless person, that's their choice, is to live under the stars. You know, like that's how they want to live. Like Silver Spook was saying, you know, there's a vast disparity between the homeless problem in Oahu and the homeless problem on the Big Island. You know, there is no homeless problem here, And the reason being, same reasons that he brought up. The haole cannot call up the police and say, hey, go and evict Brother Joe because he's not paying his rent. There's a reason for that, The Kanaka Maoli, they take care, they kokua. They take care of people. They're lover of peoples, not lover of money. And that's why you don't see the problems over here that you see on the city island. Just to touch more base on the homeless problem. Kaka'ako, which is under development right now. It's one of the most developed, currently being developed portions of the city island. When you're out at night on the beach looking at all of the high rises and all of the apartments, you literally see 10% of all that real estate has a light on. 90% of all those rooms are being unused. And the thing that really gets to me is that right outside of all of these places, there's tent cities. There's literally thousands, 10,000s of people, families now, kids, right? Kupuna, elders, and people like you and I sleeping in tents while there's places for these people. And I don't know, it's just really, it's really mind-blowing to me because it's an easy fix, but because of the systems in place there, the capitalist systems in place, that's the reason why we have all the problems there. Capitalism is the problem, the power for money, the hunger for greed, right? All these things is the reason why there's so many problems there. And it's the reason why there's no problems on this island. Yeah.
I haven't even been to Oahu in a while, so
you don't want to go there, guys.
I know.
Literally, what Chris was saying, if you do end up visiting Oahu, the city island, please do not give your money to Donald Trump, please. He's a fucking asshole. He's a bigot, right? The Hiltons, they don't need your money. They're billionaires already. You know what you do? You find a Facebook group and you talk story with local people, and I promise you, if you show your aloha, they will invite you to come and stay with them. That's how it is. That's how people should be, right?
Like that's I mean, definitely, like if you can stay with a local family and help them out and then listen to them, like that's the thing too, is if you come into the tourist, and this is a thing I talk about all the time, but it's like it's capitalist and it's the Western world and capitalism and Hawaii's tourist industrial complex, its tourist industry has its own its own disinformation, its own marketing, its own propaganda that is not going to give you what Hawaii actually, it's going to give you a fake version of Hawaii.
Absolutely.
The corporate theme park version of Hawaii, and you're not going to learn what it is. You're going to you people have come to Hawaii like every year for their whole life. People have like timeshares here, wealthier people from America.
They're the most uneducated ones.
Yeah,
literally.
And they could be here. They could have spent a year of their life, if you add up 30 vacations every year, 2 times a year. But all they do, they go to Hilton Hawaiian Village, like Kama was saying. You go to the Sheraton. You go to the tour every time. You go to the nice white sand beach where they kick all the homeless people off. You don't see any actual Hawaiians. You only see the Hawaiians that are smiling on the plane, putting the lei on you, right, and giving you the little cup and going, aloha, welcome to Hawaii. But they're all fake smiles. You're getting a fake version of a Hawaiian who's crying inside. They're going like, how am I gonna pay my rent? Doing this fake version of my culture, right? You're not getting the real Hawaii. You could come and stay in that tourist corporate tourism industry. Go to all the theme park. Go to the Polynesian Cultural Center. Go to you could even go to a lot of these places that are kind of offering themselves up as very authentic, but you know, it's all for money. It's you can go to a luau, but like I said, you know, what is a luau? A luau under Hawaiian culture is literally people coming together, providing whatever they can, their fish, their food. You know, if you caught 1,000 fish or you caught 10 fish, you give whatever you can. If you can't give no fish, you don't give anything, because you don't have, like, socialism, from each according to their ability, to each according to their need. A luau is literally is people above profit in a living cooking and food preparation and food sharing tradition. That's what it's supposed to be. It's where you learn it's an important cultural part of Hawaii, right? Where to instill the values, you learn the values. The education is in the breaking of bread, or in the breaking of kalo and sharing of poi. That's where you learn how to live in a community and value people over individual greed, over individual profit. Is in the luau, right? And so, and where people and the keiki, the elders are fed first. The disabled, the less able, the people who cannot provide for themselves are fed first by the able. That's where that is taught. It's very important. Like, I remember my mom, even in the colonized Oahu, she was like an Oprah girl, like go get her, but she still knew. You feed the keiki first. The 20, 25-year-olds take the food to the elders, the kupuna, who have wisdom, important wisdom to share, and to the infirm, the people that are not able to get up and walk, the disabled, the children who need the help. You feed them first. It doesn't matter who brought what. There's no transactional anything. And this is for, like, I'm talking about 1,000 people in the luau's tradition. It'd be like the whole, not just like in your little family unit, like 10 people, maybe some relatives you don't like for Thanksgiving. I'm talking about the whole village. Yeah. And that's where the value of, so the whole community is learning, right? And there was no rich and poor, but if somebody was thinking of becoming Elon Musk, they would have to sit across from the poor people, the homeless people in the area, well, there weren't any, and they would have to face them, and they would have to serve them. And that's how you consistently, dialectically, in a socialist term, had an ongoing revolution. Like, you don't allow things to decay and rot to the state of 3 people owning as much as half of the planet or half of a country. You don't let it get to that state by constantly, through the traditions, daily luau culture, in reinforcing actual socialism, actual people before greed, every night, every meal, everything. You know, all right, what the Thanksgiving is like? I don't want to see anybody because I disagree with them. I don't like them. You know, it's just like night and day. I mean, that's a lot of the sickness in the heart of the West and in the capitalist cultures. And so the luau, and so that's what the luau was. I mean, the luau went from that very important tradition of not just eating but educating, also and connecting. It was also like people. It was like a summit, like a big meeting where everybody decided. You know, it's like part of it was government too. It was like, okay, well, we're gonna build this rock wall here, and we're gonna work out when we're gonna build it, how we're gonna build it, what we're gonna do with the fish when we harvest them. You know, it was not compartmental. I bring up compartmentalization, breaking things into, like, this is politics, this is school, this is eating, this is business and personal, right? Are you here for business and personal? For Hawaiians, that would be a non-question. It's like our business is our pleasure, is, you know, we do that all together. That we don't separate, and we do all the shady dealings in Wall Street, and then we come home and kiss our children and act like we're good people. You know, that's not a thing you could do. You have to, anyway. So the luau, going from this important cultural event to like fake plastic, with impoverished Hawaiians serving richer Americans and other foreigners food that they're paying $200 for, so that the Marriott or some big hotel, foreign-owned corporation can make money from the luau. It's a complete bastardization. It's a complete flipping of what a luau actually is. So when you stay in Waikiki and you go see a luau, you are not seeing a luau. You are seeing a fake Disneyland, American capitalist perversion of actual Hawaiian social, aloha culture. You are not getting Hawaii. You can never get Hawaii from Waikiki. You can never get Hawaii from these corporate-owned tourist destinations, which is most of, unfortunately, what the tourist industry is. So that's where I mean, it's not going to be easy, kind of like finding good information in a capitalist or an imperial system where it's full of bullshit and lying you into wars and lying you into accepting this horrible system. It's hard to find good information, and it hit up one of us, find some Hawaiian. I mean, we're some Hawaiians. Even if we don't, I don't have like a visitors trying to get out of the matrix of America, like take a brief tour. I don't run a Hawaii tour guide, but I mean, there's people that can help with that. Try to get into contact, like Kama said. Maybe check out whatever social media groups you can. Just find somebody, talk to them, ask them. Find Hawaiian activists, and ask them, like, what do you think? Adam, I bring up Adam Kiawe Holly. I was dropping links all the time, right? Ask them, hey, I want to visit Hawaii. I don't want to endanger you, right? But I want to visit Hawaii and learn about what Silver Spook talked about, or what you guys are talking about, and they can give you suggestions. Oh, try this cooperatively owned Hui tourism organization that helps people come over without that. In a way, they work, because there is a way to do tourism and cultural sharing between peoples that doesn't damage the places. I bring up the way the Chinese do tourism a lot, but and the way Vietnamese do it as well, which is that when people visit, right, it's like the visitor, the money that comes in while they're spending and they are enjoying, like, you get to try pho, you get to try in Vietnam, you try banh mi, you see all of these cultural sites, you go on a hike and you see things that you would never see in America, in Vietnam. But then the revenue, right? If it's a cooperatively owned hotel, if the revenue is going back into the healthcare, so that when you spend that, those people who spend those millions of dollars visiting and enjoying the scenery, it goes into building new houses for the Vietnamese, cleaning up, or providing healthcare. It goes back into their system as opposed to going straight into some rich person or Donald Trump
bank account
or somebody rich person's bank account. So now that's hard to do in the United States because that's the way that most of it is. But there are, like, in the same way that you'll be like, I don't want to necessarily support Amazon, Christmas shopping, and then you find other places, right? I'll buy from this small shop. I'll buy, like, I don't know, the Silver Spook Cyberpunk, not Cyber Bougie album, or somebody else's Etsy shop. I'll support, like, on it's Black History Month. I'm gonna buy a book written by a black person about the actual history, not some BS U.S. public school or private school history book that's full of airbrushing racist white war criminals.
Yeah, it's the system of disinformation, right?
Yeah. So in the same way that you do that, you can try to find ways to think about coming and visiting, and I hope one day to be on here going, it's amazing, in decolonized indigenous future Hawaii, where we control the government everywhere, not just Big Island. We had, I don't know, maybe not 10 million. We had like 5 million tourists, and they came, and that 5 million tourists brought in $20 billion, with which we rebuilt all of the water pipes and cleaned up the 180 million gallons of toxic diesel under Red Hill from World War II, U.S. military leaving 55-gallon drums of oil, with all of the tourism money. Like, I hope that's what will happen. But for now, you gotta, like, kind of look out for. You might have to hunt down some good and ethical ways to learn about actual Hawaiian culture. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. I mean, yeah. You maybe you want to talk, like, just like, I mean, a little bit, like, about how it's been, like, with your space, so that.
Like, give me. Like, throw some things at me.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm just kind of changing the topic real fast. Just kind of like, I was just thinking, like, just like day to day. Obviously, you've met Comrade Rooster.
Oh, yeah.
Comrade Roosters. There's a Rooster revolution happening. They're like multiple. They're spreading. But, we do have roosters. We have chicken here. And that's part of, it. Or I don't know. We could, I was just like, we could talk about, like, how, like, normally, I mean, one thing about, communal living, because people might be like, oh, but renting, I'm renting, and then, like, I can always tell, my landlord fixed this and fixed that, and then it gets fixed, right?
Yeah.
And like how it's a little bit different, right? Because like we don't have landlords, and so that mean like, you know, you might have to help out with other things that you wouldn't help out with in a rental situation in a city.
Yeah. So my experience, I had holes in my walls. Literally, you could see outside. The water tastes like burning plastic. You know, it left like a fucking residue this color, you know. I told the property management for many months, literally like over a year, and not a fucking thing was done. Not a fucking thing was done. Yeah. If anything, it got worse. Yeah. The holes got bigger. The pipes got dirtier with more buildup of whatever the fuck was coming out of that shit, right? There was a massive storm that blew through our state. I want to say about 3 or 4 days ago. Literally, there was a river, a stream of water going down our driveway, and it had gotten into my house, right? And so I approached Silver Spook and Holly about it, and immediately they said, oh my gosh, what can we do to help, right? So I go inside, I change my clothes, I come outside, I see Silver Spook literally with a pickaxe in his hand, yeah? Like, trying his best to clear the debris that was built up from the flow of water, literally with it getting on his hands and knees in mud, right? Like filthy conditions, like, and this is within minutes, right? And I don't know, it was just really mind blowing to me, you know, like, yeah, you know, because that hasn't been my experience, you know, ever, and it was just very enlightening to me to feel loved and feel like I needed to be taken care of, you know. I guess the communal living situation, because I'm so programmed to pay a certain allotment of money to my landlord every single month, right? It's not like that over here. It's basically, what do you bring to the table, right? How can you be used to benefit this hui, right? This collection of people, right? And so I'm a handy person. I because of all my life experience and all the many jobs that I've had, you know, I've picked up certain skills that I can use to apply to this place. Yeah, and you know, money is not talked about, you know. It's not a money thing. It's it's whatever you can do to improve the life of this place. That's what you're gonna do. And one example was it's been windy, and there's a makeshift garage that they use a pop-up tent, right? And so the wind blew this pop-up tent. It created holes inside the tent and stuff like that. And so you know, I know a little bit. So I did my best to secure this garage. Silver Spook gave me the tools that I needed in order to add life or value to this place. Yeah. So, you know, it was basically, I took responsibility to do what I could to help this place. You know, while he went and he served his family, basically. That's what ultimately happens, you know. They talk about their kids all the time, you know. He's doing Silver Spook and Holly, they're doing their best to really instill Hawaiian cultural values into their kids, you know? And when this whole fiasco happened, I just felt like him being taken away to doing those things for his keiki, for his kids, I felt like, you know, that he shouldn't have been doing that. You know, it was basically his job to invest into the kids, yeah, and into the life of the kids, while it was my responsibility to fix whatever had happened. And yeah, you know, we've talked about this. It's our job to cultivate and train and educate the next generation so that the bullshit that's happening today does not continue anymore. And literally, it's just gonna take time, you know? Yeah, it's just gonna take time, you know? Time and educating the right things and teaching the right things to the next generations. That's really what it's all about. And deprogramming yourself to the matrix, literally, because it is the matrix. Deprogramming yourself from the matrix so that you can teach the proper things to the next generation is what's gonna start the revolution, is what's going to change the world. Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that's exactly right. And like, you know, we definitely, mahalo, we thank Kama. Yeah, thanks so much for, you know, working on, you know, the tent. And
it's my pleasure, man.
Kama has more skills than I do in a lot of other, just like handy or just like physical repair and mechanical vehicle and such. And so, you know, again, you know, it's like what are your skills that you have and you bring to the table, and what you have, then you apply those skills like to a reasonable amount of your abilities, right? So if your body, so we told Kama, like, you've already broken yourself for capitalist rich Americans in Oahu. You don't need to break yourself again here. So like, you know, like one day, kind of going back to like the culture of and like I catch myself doing this all the time. Like, oh, I gotta get like this whole thing done. I gotta work like 12 hours today. I gotta get, you know, and it's like, oh wait, I don't have to do that because I don't live in, you know, a Oahu capitalist city that you have to work that hard, otherwise you're lazy. You know, you have this there's always this part, there's a voice in the back of your head, right, that's like, why aren't you stressing out? Like, I need more stress hormones today, or I'm lazy. You know, it's almost like it's a stress addiction. It's a work addiction. Workaholism is literally an addiction, like alcoholism. You know, and like I still feel that. I'm like, I've been out of the city, I've been out of Oahu hustling and like working 2 jobs, like selling. I remember when I dropped from 40 hours to 9 hours and 1 hour right before my first child was born. Holly and I was a kid. I was like selling my Marshall amps, my old Stratocaster, my, like, just to make enough for food. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to sell any drugs or pollute the community because you know, I had the luxury of having an education and such. And I was like, I didn't want to do that. But I remember like hustling and like, okay, I'm gonna like do on the side. I'm gonna try to figure out how to make some money, possibly in cryptocurrency at one point. I'm not doing that right now, but just like working my butt off, working full time, and then like literally picking TVs off the street, like, and then like flipping TVs from the curbside to, you know, college students just to make $20, selling like old bikes and we're fixing them up, and that kind of stress, and then constantly doing math in my head, like, okay, how much money do we have right now? Are we gonna make the rent? Okay, we got $23 per day. That's what we can spend, or like we can spend maybe $80 for food this week. And if we don't, oh, are they gonna drop my hours next week? I remember like constantly worrying. And so, well, if I work a little harder right now, well, I'm not sick, I'll have enough money for next month, kind of thing, right? Constantly being worried about that. And I catch myself when you wake up, because I've been programmed into that for 30 years of my life. Like I say, I'm always gonna be half stormtrooper. In the of the Empire, trained by a, you know, stormtrooper training facility, an Emperor Palpatine training facility that is the private school system, and the university system, which is just the second level of that, and then the work system. It's in my body. It's in my like, you know, it's in my veins. It's in my DNA. You know, like it's inside of my you know, it's in my you know, yeah. When I wake up, when I go back into my subconscious, like when you're sleepy and you start like talking with your childhood accent, or you start like saying things that you haven't said in a long time, maybe since you were a kid. I'll catch myself like going back into, I gotta work, and then like, wait, I don't have to, because I don't live. I wake up with stress dreams. I'm like, I gotta pass this test, I gotta get to work. Like that was one you just said, like I have to get up and get to work.
Literally, like I woke up a little late the other day, and I shot out of bed like I was stressed out, I was all like, I literally like fucking sprang out of bed. Oh my god, what the fuck time is it right now? Holy shit, I need to be doing something, right? Like that was the initial reaction, right, to me waking up a little late, right? Because because I'm so programmed to like be a slave, right, to the system. And then I caught myself, right, as I'm thinking, holy shit, what do I need to be doing? I caught myself, like literally, I checked myself, and I was all like, wait, no, I don't need to live like that anymore. And it's really bizarre to me, to be living this way, and because you're so programmed, literally, like Silver Spook was saying, it's in your neural pathways, it's in your DNA, it's what makes you, right? And just trying to deprogram from that and live this lifestyle, aloha aina, being pono, doing your kokua and kuleana, and sharing your mana'o, all these things, it's a breath of fresh air, because I don't have to live like that anymore, I thought those things were fairy tales, and I have family members that live on this island that have tried basically their whole life to get me to move over here, right? But when you're stuck in the matrix, like Holly was saying to me last night, you can't see it from inside the matrix. You have to remove yourself, and you physically have to go and experience it for yourself. Nobody can tell you how it is. You basically have to live it in order to experience it. And this is I know that this is my blessing, and I'm gonna take this blessing and do the best that I can with it. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. That's the only thing that we ask, is like, that when we came here, like we had other people that helped us to get here. Like I often bring up, Silver Spook Games is not, like it would not exist without the support of like my family, who I hope one day they can get here. Like a lot of other people, everybody who's ever shared the game. This game would have sold like 50 copies and then it would disappear. It would just been like another one of the, tens of thousands of games on Steam that nobody ever plays and sees again. It's just like, a few family members and maybe a couple friends will have heard about it. 10 people will have it in their Steam library, and maybe 3 people have actually played it. That was what it was looking like when I first released it, and like, with the support of people, and just to make it was its own difficult process. And my family did help us out, because we would have been literally on the street at one point. And so like the game does have all of everything I'm talking about, and what we're talking about is like in that, like the experiences of being homeless, of being a social worker, of living in that, kind of hellscape, and from the police violence of it, attacks on minorities, the struggles, all of those struggles are in the game, and those are all my personal experiences. And then seeing the richest billionaires on the planet working for them in Hawaii, and just seeing like how they treat, like, and I was still poor, so that's what they think of you, is like, no, I'm gonna pay you, I have billions of dollars, I could literally give you a mansion, but I'm not, because I need the system to continue while pretending to be good people. That's another important point. we're like, let's not put labels on it. We're all just revolutionaries here. Nobody's rich. No, you are way richer than me. And it's like, well, no, but we're all the same. We're all the same. It's all, no, it's not the same. Anyway, so like, but that's all in the game, right? That's all my experiences that are in the game. But at the same time, like, it would not it will not, it only, the amount that we'll be able to do is only with the help, the mutual aid of all the people like you, if you have shared this game around, told people about it. Holly, who did a lot of the very important, as important, if not more important, care work, so that, you know, while I'm working on the game, taking care of the kids, like, we both share that, but Holly does more of that, caring for in the community for modding and such. And so all of this it's a collective communal, which is another important difference between a Hawaiian culture, a socialist culture, versus a capitalist and a profit and great, usually white dudes centered culture and wealth worship culture and entrepreneur worship culture, like Mr. Elon Musk kind of characters, right? Who want to take credit for everything that they've done, you know? And so that's one thing, it's going to be in me because I was trained to be, you know, a stormtrooper in the Matrix. You know, in a while I was trained to be a wealth-seeking, self-aggrandizing, and I studied to be a Goldman Sachs high-frequency trading algorithm programmer. Basically, work for a huge bank, you know, make a ton of money, and then invest it, and then make more money from the investments, and then have my own empire. That was what I was trained to do. And so I will forever have to constantly check that, you know, part of my brain that wants to switch on and take over the Silver Spook Cooperative and make it the Silver Spook Corporation, you know? And then if you ever see this happen, you got to be like, what happened there? And then I'm sure Holly will check me first. That's how you know that you actually have a functioning, important part of having a functioning hui or commune or cooperative or whatever you're doing is if people have to be constantly kind of like self-examining, self-criticizing. Ongoing revolution is what some comrade Ho Chi Minh would call it. You know, it's constantly like examining and like, are we still living up to our values? You know, are we, you know, and like, not to say we have to constantly nitpick, but just like if we're really going astray, you know, and people have to be willing to kind of call that out in their communities. Otherwise, that's another way that they can fail. There are countless stories of this where communes come together, toxic behaviors happen, and then they fall apart. People try to live communally. People try to live without greed and landlords and bosses, and then somebody or a group of people come in, or they're like, you know, I kind of want to be the boss though. And then if everybody else doesn't go, well, that's not how we do things here, and they, you know, not, you have to, you know, beat them up, but like politely ask us. That's how the community enforcement and the Big Island enforcement happens. If there's somebody who really is not doing things, I mean, usually it's somebody who's trying to like take over an area and turn it into Seattle or LA or Oahu, they'll politely come in and go, you know, they won't just come in and throw you in prison. They'll just be like, you know, this is not gonna function this way, or if you're just disruptive for whatever reason. I don't know, people are just like causing a ruckus, there's a drug den type of situation, or, well, you know, it's like somebody's just staying in a house or trying to flip houses in a negative way, or ripping off people. They'll be like, you know, you can't really be doing what you're doing right now in this space, and they'll just politely ask you to please change your ways. You know, please change your ways. We don't want to take any other drastic measures. But if you really want to try to force your ways onto the Big Island or into the hui or into, you know, on the greater scale, the entire the greater hui of all of the Big Island, then you have to also be asked to politely and then less politely, you know, pushed out with a variety of means. You know, ultimately, like on Mauna Kea, it's like sometimes it's, you know, that kind of action. It depends on the situation. But anyway, so like, but self-examination is like very important, and but yeah, you know, constantly, you know, that's one thing that we definitely have to work with, and also recognizing that like, I will not lead any, like, I can be there to help bring people out of the Matrix, kind of like a Morpheus-like character. I mean, it's too much megalomania for me to think about that too much, but my shades are cooler than Morpheus, I will say that though. but like, you know, like you know, I can't lead. My Kuleana, my responsibility, right, as somebody who is half in a Western capitalist hell and went to one of the best schools that they have you know, along with Kaba, and have been trained in that, and have experiences with some of the wealthiest, and understand how their systems work, you know, and also, you know, like friends with William Gibson and all these things, and that a lot of cyberpunk is about examining these societal, political, economical structures, being halfway in that, but then also like having a connection to Hawaiianness and to actual socialism, actual healthy ways to have societies and communities, is to be like a the train man, or like, you know, I'm like the Nebuchadnezzar. I'm like bussing people in and out of those, or bussing people out of that kind of destructive structure and into you know, Zion of sorts. I guess, yeah, Big Island is kind of Zion, is a kind of Zion with Hawaiian characteristics, is another way to think about it. Most of the people in the Matrix, I think they're people of color, like Tank and Dozer. There's a lot going on in the Matrix. Go back and rewatch it again after reading lots of like you know, Black socialist and revolutionary books. But anyways, yeah. So like that's my job, but I can never like be. Our children potentially could be. We can all be part of it, but I don't want to lead. I can't lead anything. You know, I can't like be the leader, and I don't want to be the leader. If not because if for no other reason, then you know, we can through counterintelligence we can pinpoint potential troublemakers and neutralize them. But also it's like, you know, we don't want to have a leader. We want to have a diverse movement with a lot of different people with a lot of different skills in a lot of different places along the pathway that are constantly checking themselves and checking and trying to deprogram themselves. Like I said, every day I'm deprogramming something from my own head. If you have lived in the United States, anywhere in the West, and you aren't finding one really bad idea that was installed in you from your entire life system, your education, your formal and informal education, grade school, high school, college, if you aren't taking one bad idea and undoing it every day and going, wow, that was a really reactionary thing to think. Why did I think that? Why did I think that? Why did I think that racist or, you know, capitalist or whatever thought, right? Then you're not, then you are already like, you're falling behind, you know, it should be that way. And I expect to do that for the rest of my life. I will never be fully out of it. And so, yeah. And so the kids, though, yeah, again, we're doing our best to make sure that they are much better prepared. They are from grade, you know, from birth, you know, we don't wait till be 32 years old to watch, to have lived and grown up going to the disinformation system of school, learning about war criminals as if they were saviors of the universe, like every American president in high school, going to college and learning you know, a whole other bunch of layers of bullshit and liberal nonsense, and then working and slaving away capitalism, being installed with a visceral and you know, like subconscious level drive to hustle and seek out self-gain and figure out how to manipulate it and climb ladder, right? And then you turn 20 something, 30 something, and then you watch a YouTube video about leftism. That's like, and how to live differently. That's like way too late. You know, that's like, we got to do what we got to do in the current circumstances, but like our kids will be like, they already know that the United States is a country that has one of the biggest militaries in the world, is planet-wide a destructive force, and that it doesn't respect rule of law. They know this. They've learned. They don't know exactly how, but we've talked about how they are fraudulently selling houses that are worth, you know, like negative $20,000 for $100,000. Like, you know, the house we lived in, a giant bank was trying to sell that, and they were lying to everyone and saying it was worth this much. So they understand how fraud works. They understand like the kind of the soul of that at the ages of like 6 and 8, you know, and they know their Hawaiian language. I never learned any Hawaiian language. It was banned when I was born. You couldn't speak it. You couldn't practice it. You really still can't practice it, not in your daily life when you're going to work in Hawaii on that island. And so they'll have access to so much more that we don't, and they'll have, you know, they won't have to spend years and years and years and years trying not to become reactionary and a problem, because they will have like Luna Oi, right, in Vietnam, where people are all raised with a full, you know, Marxist-Leninist socialism with Vietnamese characteristics, education from birth. Their comic books, their media, their comic books are not billionaire philanthropist arms dealer Playboy, Elon Musk crossed with a Koch brother is the savior of the world. Their comic books are Uncle Ho, an actual revolutionary who actually defended freedom and equality, right, is their hero in their comic books, you know, and that media makes such much a difference. And but anyway, that's a long discussion that I often go on, and yeah, and so, you know, ultimately, you know, anyway, we're probably gonna get going pretty soon, but yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, and so we'll continue to work here. Kama's gonna be like, you know, again, it's like whatever skills Kama has, and we'll work on potentially Neofeud 2, him helping me out with that, in various ways, and gaining more skills, and doing, you know, exploring other aspects of, you know, his creative side in video games. Like we played a lot of games growing up, in the fun factories and the arcades and at each other's houses. So, you know, we both been video game players and lovers for a long time. So we're looking forward to working on that, you know, again, to a reasonable amount, like maybe 70%, not 120%. When your body starts telling you, okay, well, this is too much, then you stop. But it's like, if you can go, then you go, but you don't go past the point where you're gonna burn out. You know, it's like, because ultimately it's really like counterproductive, right? I mean, it's like if people work, like, they actually studies show, if you work 8 hours, your most productivity is like the first 4 hours, and then it falls off. You're actually getting less productivity, you know, even for the amount that they're paying you after that time, even in offices where you're not really physically doing that much. And so, like, you know, and so, but again, you know, and it's like, why did they make you work 8 hours then still? Well, it's because they don't want you with all that free time to, I don't know, listen to Silver Spook or read a book or think about things other than working. They have to literally, you know, exhaust you to prevent you from thinking about your terrible situation, right? And keep you constantly, and the only thing you can do is like watch a show, maybe watch where billionaire philanthropists aren't do the Playboy and Captain Star Spangled Underpants save the universe, and then drink a bunch of alcohol and then go back to the next day. They don't want you thinking. So I mean, that alone, just like, you know, even if you were on the Big Island or a place like that where you work enough, and then you can spend the rest of the time doing other things, reading a thing, thinking about things, you know, like in America, like, I mean, it's a lot of times it's students, a lot of the time, not just students, but I mean, or people that have become unemployed that are like investigating other avenues to improve, like, why am I in this terrible situation, right? Now, unfortunately, a lot of those people that become unemployed due to workplace injuries or lost jobs because of economic hell, they go down the right-wing path and they go to Jordan Peterson and the, you know, the MAGA path, and some of them go in the other direction, right? But but I mean, it's much better and healthier for society for everybody, not just the people who have fallen on a time when they're not inundated with work 24/7. A society where the majority of people have access to lots of free time and like they're not just their time, but their spoons, you know, their mental health, their mental capacities, right? Their maximum amount of exertion per day is not maxed out after their job is done, right? Like on the Big Island, you work, you know, like I said, I can get so much work done, and then, you know, a few hours of work done, and then I can go and podcast, you know, do E. American Johnson stream. I'm gonna do that tomorrow to help raise money for a homeless activist, a black activist tomorrow. Oh, sorry, today, later on, and so like that alone, giving you that space by working like just as much as you can, and then taking the rest of the time to educate yourself, right? While you're still in and organized, while you're still, you know, while you're not fully exhausted, right? It's just like, I mean, that itself is a revolutionary concept, is a revolutionary way of living, because then you have the capacity to constantly, you know, improve
and be healthy about life.
Yeah, and anyways, let me just look at the chart real fast, because we're probably gonna clock out soon, because we gotta go eat some food, or I do anyway. What's up, Ludlow Vert? Yeah, we will be. I will be streaming again. I normally stream again on. I stream usually Saturday in the morning at 12:30 Pacific time YouTube, and then normally it's 8 p.m. Saturday evening on Twitch. But I'm gonna be streaming 7 p.m. Pacific time or 10 p.m. Eastern time on the American Johnson non-compete stream. I'll be jumping in there, and then I'll possibly, depending on how long that goes, I might jump back on my channel after that. But yeah, we'll be back later to help raise money for that. And yeah, any final thoughts you want to say before we kind of wrap this up?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, mahalo to Silver Spook and Holly. Mahalo Kyokua. Mahalo to you folks. Thank you for allowing me to share my mana'o, my knowledge, and my life experience with you folks. Don't give up the good fight. That's all I have to say. Peace, love, aloha.
All right, thank you. Thanks so much, man. All right. Anyways, so just to finish up here, this has been the Silver Spook live stream. Everybody, thanks for tuning in again. Thanks again to Kama for the sharing. It's always good. Also, thanks again to Kama. Also, Kama has also been a help when if Holly and I need to have like adult times and other things. We also have help with that. You know, which is also a Hawaiian thing, like sharing of child rearing and child. You know, like they say, it takes a, you know, Hillary Clinton had that book that she doesn't follow, but it takes a village to raise a child. Like that is like literally like how Hawaiian child rearing and care for children often was, you know. So but yeah, so Kama has also helped with that. We all share care work to some extent, and we all respect care work you know, as much as any other type of work. No work is privileged. The computer programming, making video games, being some kind of celebrity on the internet is not special work. That's just, you know, and nobody is paid any more than anyone else. And we often don't really discuss it as that much because except when we have to deal with the external capitalist world, because sometimes you got to pay electric bills and stuff like that. But internally, you know, it's to each, from each according to their ability, to each according to their need. Anyway, this has been the Silver Spook live stream. Again, Neofeud is a cyberpunk adventure game that I have worked on for 2.5 years on Oahu, in that place that where Kama just came from. And it's a place, it's a game that is about all those experiences. I'll also probably in the evening. There's a lot to talk about, but I wanted to specifically focus on what's happening right now with my friend and brother there. But I'll be talking more about. We'll probably be speaking of what today is the anniversary of Breonna Taylor's murder, if I'm not mistaken, and there's so much going on to talk about. But I'll talk about more of that later on in later streams, probably on the American Johnson stream, and then possibly on the Silver Spook stream after that. You can find Neofeud on on Steam. I'm sorry. It is not on sale right now, but you can find it on Steam. You can wishlist it on Steam if you are waiting for it and you don't have the discretionary income. If you just got your stimulus money in, you don't have to buy the game. Just support. Don't buy some giant AAA capitalist bug-filled mess like Cyberpunk 2077, please. Buy somebody else's indie game that is actually made as ethically as they can manage it. Okay, but if you do get Neofeud, if you have a second to leave even a very short review, it is greatly appreciated. It really does help us to increase the likelihood that the Steam algorithm will show the game to people when they log in the More Like This or in their recommendation feed, which really is like one of the number one places that people discover games. So it really does help. I can see it helping as the game in the statistics. Neofeud is Neofeud also apparently is a multi-dimensional representation of Marx's Das Kapital. It is received as a labor of love, one that speaks to the cultural references of our generation. Anyway, Neofeud explore the depths that makes up our capitalist reality. So anyway, speaking of capitalist hells, right? If it like, this is from a reviewer that said that's one of the highest compliments. It's like literally It's like an interactive video game version of Marx's legacy work. If it does, it's because it's just a description of my experiences as a social worker, person of color, at the bottom of the barrel, being honest about that reality. So thanks a lot to Sima for that. And also, you can find it on itch.io if you want to get it for Mac and Linux and you don't have Windows. If you want to get Neofeud without digital rights management, if you don't like Steam for whatever reason, you can get it on itch.io. It is on sale there. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Neofeud. With ongoing monetary support that is greatly appreciated. Again, we still a lot of systems, the electricity, internet, we gotta go get some new parts for the car and tents and the housing, literally keeping the house from falling apart. That does cost money. Like, we're gonna have to until we have fully automated luxury gay space communism or Earth communism, we're gonna still need that. So it really does, all that support does help to keep everything here running as best as we can manage it. Yeah. You can follow at SilverSpookGame at octodon.social. This is Mastodon. Mastodon is a decentralized, non-capitalist controlled, federated social media platform that allows you to have image descriptions for the visually impaired. It gives you access to content warnings so that, to tell people what is going to, particularly if it's sensitive sort of content, what's happening in that post that you're going to make. It gives you the ability to move all of your data that you have from server to server. It's not centralized in a billionaire Wall Street and Pentagon backed corporation that is manipulating you every second of the day through your trending topics, etc. So I really recommend getting. Also, you can't really be deleted. You can't really be shadow banned and deleted or deranked on Mastodon. It's all chronological, which has its minuses, but also, like, people like me, people actually trying to speak some truth in an empire of lies, cannot get shadow banned and have my account shut down. Which is things that, just on that topic, Richard Medhurst recently had his PayPal account limited. Speaking of giant corporations, doing not only visibility and informational censorship, but economic sanctions. So Richard Medhurst was sanctioned by PayPal for having love to Syria in a transaction. So that's, just like Damascus, the oldest city continuously inhabited on Earth, is in Syria. Also, Jesus lived there. So anyways, it was a $5 donation. So anyway, all these kind of things do happen, and so that's part of the reason why we have Mastodon, is because we don't want all of our eggs in giant capitalist baskets, where they can have greater control over us. But at the same time, Twitter does have much bigger reach, and many more people are on it, and so we still have that while we can manage to do that. So at SilverSpook Guy is the Twitter account. You can follow at SilverSpook Games for more specifically game related stuff, minus the E and Silver. You can also follow at Terminus C. Terminus Cyberstar is a low poly cyberpunk immersive sim in the vein of late 90s PC games like Deus Ex 1 and System Shock 2. That is a game that here's one of the latest screenshots from that. Terminus Cyberstar is going to be is planned to come out sometime in the next few weeks. In March is the current release window. It may be pushed back a bit, and I'll let you know. But currently it's slated for release in March, and it is a cyberpunk RPG that I am the lead content writer. I'm sorry, the content director, writer, and game designer on. And there are other folks. A handful of other folks are doing the art, music, level design, programming, etc. on, including my friend Aaron Victoria. And these are some screenshots from the latest version of the game. So it's not as high definition as Cyberpunk 2077, but it is or Deus Ex Mankind Divided, but it is it's closer to Deus Ex Invisible War level of graphics, I would say. And so that's going to be coming out very shortly. So do keep an eye out for that and follow it if you so choose. You can also follow, you can join the Discord, Terminus Cyberstar Discord, if you want to hang out and talk to folks, including other developers. I'm on there as well. You can also, if you become a patron, you can join this, you get access to the Silver Spook Discord. So do consider, like, just even a single $1 donation to the Patreon, you get an invite to the Silver Spook Discord, where behind the scenes things about what I'm doing and discussion with other Silver Spook community members is had. So do check that out. Kama is also there. Yeah, so thanks to all of these people here on this list: Dave James Wheaton, Minkzilla, Mr. Brewer, Belinda Ann Taylor, Kiara Kapabar, Industrial, Johnny C, Alana Montero, Sean Conlon, Danny Carroll, Eric Wright, JR, Morgan Swampcraft, The Reaver, Tyler Tuthill, Right 455, Matthew Stone, Alexander, Roy Gabriel House, Alfonso De Lazar, Combo Breaker, Lark, Miro, Skylar Smith, Tim Kabuters, Raft Tyner, Earl, Control.org, Extremely Online Left, Charlington, Beasco, Ted, and to name the name. Thanks for your continued support. It is greatly appreciated. I was like, oh, we're gonna rate. No, we don't rate anywhere because this is not Twitch. Yes, so thanks a lot, Ludlow Vert. Thanks a lot, Anti-American. And we are thank you again for watching and listening, and we will be back. Keep your mirror shades polished, be excellent to each other, and we'll be back 10 p.m. Eastern time on the non-compete fundraiser stream. All right.